Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Denise Szykula.
I started dancing in 8th grade, and that's the late 50s. Yeah. My introduction to dance was because of bad behavior. I was the loudest and the most obnoxious kid in the class. My English teacher, Mrs. Rothstein, was keeping me after school one day because of my unseemly behavior. The Modern Dance Club was meeting that day, so I had to sit in the bleachers, watch, and be quiet. That 1.5 hours changed my life. I wanted to be part of that. When the class was done, I begged Mrs. Rothstein, please let me join the Modern Dance Club. I promise I'll behave. And I kept that promise. Pretty much. And I'm glad I did, because the dance taught me to shut up and listen and observe. Yeah, well, I didn't completely shut up. One day in the Modern Dance Club, she had us working on Aaron Copland's Rodeo. She had us in second position. Plie. Moving forward. You have to understand, I was 13 or 14 years old at the time. Comment after wisecrack comment came out of my mouth. I don't remember what I said, but I thought I was hilarious. Until Mrs. Rothstein burst into tears and left the gymnasium. Oh my God, I adored this woman. It was killing me that I had hurt her. I sent one of the other dancers after her to calm her down while I rehearsed the group into perfection. When Mrs. Rothstein returned and saw the dance, well done, I could see her relax, and I knew that my apology had been accepted. A rough beginning, but I learned how to lead. Flash forward, 1970s, and by this time I had studied with Martha Graham, Jose Limon, Merce Cunningham. Yes, I'm that old. I had been a guest teacher and guest choreographer at different colleges and universities. And in 1973, I founded Dance Nance, which is a professional modern dance company in metropolitan Detroit. This is not cool. This is not a path I would recommend. The work involved in maintaining a dance company is endless. But I didn't know that, so I just jumped right in. After a couple of years, it became clear to me that the traditional stationary dance class was not working for my choreography. I mean, dance suggests moving across the floor. So I developed the traveling technique. I'd broken rules before, but this scared me because it completely flipped the traditional dance class. No longer were we in place for an hour and then travel for 15 minutes. Now we begin with 15 minutes in place, and the rest of the technique patterns are done traveling across the floor. Now the dancers were ready for rehearsal. The traveling technique changed everything. It changed everything. The dancers became stronger. My choreography became more daring, occasionally dangerous. Bruises as big as a dish plate, or fingers getting crushed. You get the picture. I received some notable recognition from the, in the form of the Arts Awards for Excellence from the Arts Foundation of Michigan. And my dance, titled Intrusions, was documented from the Lab Notation Bureau in New York. And I appreciated this recognition. But the greater reward was that I had a way to respond to situations like 9/11, 2001. And the towers went down. So many people died that day. I imagined people so frightened, knowing they were going to die, or the terror and grief of people who survived. And I thought, what now? And the question was immediately answered. I was overwhelmed by the courage I saw in the survivors and the rescuers, people helping each other, even after in some cases they had just escaped death. And I saw people take a step forward, and then another one, and another. After 9/11, there were a series of catastrophes spanning years. It was, hurricanes, an earthquake, a tsunami. And once again, I see people claim the future and take a step forward. I tried to understand the depth of the catastrophes that had unfolded, and it took time for me to assimilate what I had seen and felt. The dance gave me the tools to make sense of the world. So in 2004, fragments of a dance came to me. It kind of summed up how my reaction to the devastating events. I knew the dance would be titled When I First Heard About, because that was the moment for me, when I first heard about what was happening. And just by the way, the title is so long, the dancers and I all refer to it as WIFA. So rehearsals began in 2005. And after a couple months, I introduced the themes and developed them. And then after a couple of months, the dance was already way too long, and I had no idea how it was to end. At what turned out to be the last rehearsal of WIFA, one of the dancers, Yvonne Maz, was injured, so she videotaped the rehearsal. And about 3 days later, I suffered a burst brain aneurysm. And everything stopped. I was out of commission. The thing about a burst brain aneurysm is you don't even know you're out of commission. Hell, I didn't remember that I had a daughter. I was 4 weeks in the hospital, during which friends, family, the dancers visited me constantly. I have no memory of that. I spent 2 weeks in rehab. I have some memory of that. Unfortunately, most of it revolves around me being rude to the other patients. The burst brain aneurysm was my 9/11. And just like the New York scenarios, I needed help. My daughter, Leah, brushed my teeth when I was in the hospital. And friends would play games with me to stimulate my brain. Leah and my husband, Bill, had endless patience as I struggled with memory and words. They played games with me, and I wanted to go outside. But I felt so vulnerable, I didn't dare go out by myself. The dancers would remind me of things I had accomplished. And when I forgot a word someone would supply it. Yeah, I never lost the way to say swear words. I don't know how that... So my memory starts again when the physical therapist would come to the house. And she knew that I danced and one day asked me to show her something. So I did a foot sequence. Maybe that gave me some kind of permission. Because when I was home alone, I started doing passes and rond de jambes around the house. Pretty soon I put a few movements together and more movements together, and I realized I had a lesson plan. So I called the dancers and said, I'd like to try teaching a class. That first class, we were all a bit nervous. None of us knew if I was still capable of teaching. And I was keenly aware that I had some big memory blank spots. But the class went pretty well. I was able to demonstrate, make corrections. There was only one glitch that day. I show a pattern, and one of the dancers blurted out, "We just did that." We did? And then I see them looking at each other. They're thinking, maybe we should just drop it. It's her first day back. Well, as it turned out, I had just done the pattern. I just started it at a different place in the sequence. Yeah, you can tell they didn't drop it. After about 6 months of classes, Yvonne invited me to her house to watch the video she had taken 2 years previously. And I enjoyed it very much. Had no memory of it at all. Another 6 months pass, she invites me again. And this time, I had wisps of why I might have put certain movements together. But that was about all. Ever persistent, Yvonne invited me over for a third time. And this time, I knew everything about the dance. I knew what had to be changed, edited, developed, and I knew how it was to end. That I survived the brain aneurysm is a miracle. You see, of the people who suffer a burst brain aneurysm, 50% of them die. Of the remaining 50%, a large percentage end up with some kind of disability. That I could still dance was a gift. No one expected that. Ooh. I had already reconciled that I would never choreograph again. And that was tough, because I felt most alive when I was choreographing. And there I was, sitting on a plush couch in Yvonne's basement, confident that when I first heard about it would be premiered in a few months, realizing I'd been given back my life for a second time. Up to now, dance had shaped my life. And now, life shaped my dance.
dance nas when I first heard ... Choreographer and director, Miss Denise Szykula.